Welcome again to our 2023 AGM. I'd like to take you through a short presentation on aspects of the business to, I guess, give you some more information. So next slide, please. So if we just start by talking about 2023, the important highlights. I think the signing of the Townsville water recycling contract at a value of around $10 million was a highlight this year. This contract was the largest contract we've signed since we demerged from Sunrise Energy Metals in 2021. The Townsville contract enabled the design and delivery of a 10 megalitre a day water disinfection system at the Cleveland Bay Water Treatment Plant. And we're really pleased with the way this project has been delivered by our engineering team, and we expect the plant to be commissioned around February 2024. In the last year, we've also designed and manufactured, installed and commissioned drinking water treatment plants for Kamala in Queensland and Larumba in the Northern Territory. Both these plants use ion exchange technology to soften water and remove uranium respectively. And the Larumba project was very rewarding, as it was very evident that the local Indigenous community was most grateful to have safe drinking water for their community. And the welcome we were given by the Larumba community was a just reward, I think, for all our people in having delivered that project so well. We've continued to invest in technology to stay at the forefront of water and metal recovery technologies. And the development of our ion exchange technology to provide solutions for both sulfate and phosphorus recovery are ongoing and aimed at securing project in the near future as regulations tighten on the discharge to the environment. Over the year, we also trialled ATA, rapid dewatering technology, under a licence from Sohn Labs. And due to the success of our trials, we proceeded to purchase the technology. So I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Over the year, our revenue grew to $13.6 million, which is a 9% over 22. And projects covered a number of sectors within the water industry. So next slide, please. Cleantech's proud to say we're one of the very few companies that's pushing the technology boundaries in metals and water. We have very substantial investment in IP, which is aimed at solving some of the world's most pressing problems. We know climate change is real and it's affecting our lives in many different ways. The move from internal combustion engines to electric is a significant trend. Lithium batteries are at the heart of the EV revolution, and lithium extraction and purification is becoming big business. Cleantech has been developing, designing and supplying ion exchange systems for metal extraction now for over 20 years. Our extensive experience in the real world now sees us in a great position to exploit our technology in the lithium space. Our direct extraction technology is the key to unlocking exceptional value from the lithiums contained in brines, and we're on the cusp of proving and delivering in this very big marketplace. Lithium will be a major market for us in the coming years. Another big market where we've earned the right to engage is in the mine tailing sector. Mining companies now see proactive management of their tailings as critical to keeping their social licence to operate. Previously, mining companies have sent their waste slurries to large tailing storage facilities, where they would remain as an environmental and safety hazard for years or even decades. Some companies even pump their waste into the ocean, turning it into an underwater lunar landscape. No longer is this acceptable. No more tailings dams is the only way forward. Companies that don't commit to this change will become pariahs of the industry. We have a big role to play in this market, where our technology provides avenues to extract value, recycle water, and safely stack tails for immediate rehabilitation and use. The last area is one where we've been active for many years, and in which we're looking to have a big impact. Freshwater is a scarce commodity, and much of our freshwater reserves have been compromised by industrial, agricultural, and domestic pollution. The treatment and desalination costs are quite extensive. We will be more targeted and we will play a very active role going forward in this area. Next roll. Next slide, please. We're making some fundamental changes to the way we create value for our shareholders. As I've said, we're the owners of some very prospective technologies. Technology can unlock value in undervalued assets if they provide the key to extracting the value. In the case of lithium, we've taken the decision to form a joint venture with Robert Friedland's Ivanhoe Electric subsidiary, Computational Geosciences. The JV, named Go to Lithium Inc., is a Canadian company which now has the exclusive license to our DLE technology. But what does this mean? It really means that Cleantech now has a presence in the North American jurisdiction that is hungry for locally produced lithium and allows us to apply our technologies to extract value from sources of local lithium. We now have a presence and a route to market for this exciting initiative, and I'll talk about this a little bit more in the coming slides. In a similar way, we're working on a potential joint venture with a group of experienced mining executives to take our technologies into mine tailings management. Again, we look to license the technology into the JV and allow the JV to focus on the go-to-market strategy. Again, I'll talk a little bit more on this later. And of course, the water division is providing an underlying base to the business as we continue to grow these JVs. Next slide, please. So let's talk about Go to Lithium, the first JV which is being powered by by Cleantech's technology suite. Next slide. The JV partners have been working together for some time now, each contributing their technologies and also working on the marketing efforts. To date, we've conducted several laboratory test work investigations on the North American source brines using different lithium sorbents in concert with our various continuous ion exchange processes. The results of these tests has allowed us to verify the potential benefits that our approach to direct lithium extraction can deliver. And so based on the test work with lithium bank brines, we've been able to progress to our first earn-in agreement. We expect to be able to replicate the deal structure with other lithium brine asset owners in other jurisdictions, given the economics of the direct lithium extraction also worked for their brines. Next slide. So our counterparty in our first deal is Lithium Bank, which is listed on the TSX. Lithium Bank is the owner of two large lithium brine assets, Boardwalk and Park Place in Alberta, Canada. Go to Lithium is supplying a technology license agreement to Lithium Bank for the use of our DLE technology, which includes the provision of a DLE pilot plant in exchange for up to 14 million Lithium Bank shares, representing 26% or so of their shares on offer. But today, Lithium Bank is worth in the order of $45 million, but the valuation is primarily based on their recently published preliminary economic assessment of the Boardwalk project. On this slide here, I've shown two other examples of, shall we say, compatriot type companies, E3 Lithium and Standard Lithium, and how the value of these two companies have increased as they move through the various milestones towards producing lithium. And that is the preliminary economic assessment, the piloting at scale, the preliminary feasibility study, and followed by a definitive feasibility study. As Lithium Bank moves through its proving process, it's possible that Lithium Bank's value will also increase as a result of improved PEA, then a successful piloting, a preliminary bankable study. Given the pilot plant results replicate the bench work, we can see a number of potential projects in a similar vein coming in the near future. Our aim is to earn into a portfolio of projects where our DLE technology has a dramatic improvement on project NPV, improving the asset value and growing the value of our equity position. While the future is not clear at present, we would expect many of these plays to amalgamate into larger lithium assets, which we believe will eventually be bought out by big oil companies as they make their move into the renewable section. Next slide, please. Mine tailings. Mine tailings is a bit of a dirty word, but really it doesn't need to be. One thing is sure, you don't want to be building mine tailings storage facilities anymore if there's alternative. Next slide. This slide just gives you a little bit of an idea why mine tailings storage facilities are in the news. They're large and they take up enormous space. The downside is that they are an economic and safety hazard. Investors don't want them. Insurers don't want them. Local community doesn't want them. Governments don't want the legacy they bring. But miners for decades have found it as the easy way to dispose of their waste. A new dawn is coming as the tide of tailings turns. This opens up new opportunities where technology can play a role. And given that over 79% of tailings contains certain critical metals, the opportunity to undertake eco-mining and rehabilitation is part of the new world in mining. Next slide, please. What we must say, though, is mining is an essential service. We cannot live without the metals that miners extract for us, so saying no to mining is literally saying no to living. We need to reconsider how to deal with both the historic mine tailings storage facilities and the 18 billion tonnes of tailings being produced annually. For the majority of tailings that have historically been stored, they probably need to be moved, dewatered, and safely dry stacked. If during these processes metals can be recovered, then it will potentially offset some or all of the costs of rehabilitation. Eco-mining has the potential to unlock these critical metals in tailings, and smart materials handling can then render them safely back to a natural state. Cleantech has the technology keys to many of these issues. CleanX can be used to extract metals, and ATA, rapid dewatering technology, can be employed to recycle the water and dry stack the ores in a safe manner. The miners can then gain access to the benefits of the more intangibles, including reduced liability, reduced risk, less environmental bonding, and improved land values, all which lead to improved social licence to operate and better credentials for gaining approval for their future endeavours. Next slide, please. So the focus of these projects for the JV are what we will look to do. So we're looking at the land, we're looking at the water, and we're looking at the products. And these projects will be one of these three different areas. And Cleantech will benefit through the different licence or service fees, which we will be looking to collect on each of these projects. Next slide, please. Approximately 3.5 billion people are living in water-stressed areas, and this will include quite dramatically. It'll go up to 30% greater by 2050. We're only now acknowledging that water is increasingly intertwined with climate change and the depletion of the planet's natural capital. It's imperative that we develop urban circular water economies, especially by recycling industrial and urban wastewater, which today remains largely untreated. We also need to reduce the water footprints in manufacturing, including the reuse of water in mining, such as it is in producing critical metals such as lithium. We need to couple agricultural use to wastewater reuse, and we need to drive down the costs of these technologies in each case by adopting them at scale. In line with this social imperative, the US Sustainable Development Goal number 6, clean water and sanitation, has already included water as an asset to be protected. For these reasons, water reuse is a growing trend that supports the circular economy, reducing the water footprint and contributing to reaching the SDGs. The need is clear, And Clean TeQ Water's technical solutions can be employed to meet these objectives. So let's have a look and see what we have in our toolbox. Next slide, please. So fresh water is limited and it's becoming more degraded with increasing population and urbanisation. Given the level of contamination is generally low, it just makes sense to treat, recycle and replenish this water rather than resorting to expensive and energy-intensive seawater desalination. Clean TeQ has a suite of technologies which can be applied either alone or in combination to solve many of the problems we see with polluted fresh water. So whether it be surface water, groundwater, municipal or industrial effluent, there's a good chance that we have the technology to revive it for beneficial reuse. The slide is quite busy, I know, but it does give you an impression of the size of our technology suite and the different areas in which we are applying the technology. The majority of the technologies you see across the top, the actual pollutants you see across the top there are all major ones which we're trying to solve. Next slide, please. To give some credence to what I've just said, let's have a look at the projects we've undertaken in the last year. So number one, Townsville is using ultraviolet radiation to disinfect effluent for irrigation use. In the Middle East, our Hyrox project is aimed at removing calcium and sulfate from groundwater to allow it to be re-injected into the oil wells as completion water without gypsum plugging these wells up. The Larumba IX project is removing naturally occurring uranium from groundwater to be used as drinking water. The Kamala IX project is removing hardness from groundwater to be used as drinking water. The China BioNex project is removing nitrate from coal mine wastewater so it can be discharged to the local river without causing problems in eutrophication. And while not part of the water world, the Heathgate project will use our unique IX solutions to provide process recovery, improve process recovery, and also save scarce fresh water reserves in the area. So we see a variety of contaminants here being targeted, and we see the projects are global. Next slide, please. Just to have a quick overview of the Middle East project, because I think this is a one that bears a little bit of extra discussion around. So what we're looking here is we set out to improve the recovery of conventional reverse osmosis. So our client was using conventional reverse osmosis to treat the groundwater and was achieving approximately 30 to 40% recovery of water. That means that 60 to 70% of the water ended up as a waste. This not only depleted that scarce groundwater resource where he was drawing the feed water from, but it also created a lot of waste brine that needed to be stored and evaporated. The Hyrox solution we installed recovers over 80% of the water. Then, using clever chemistry, we extract the salt from the brine and we repurpose that back into the completion water, giving an overall recovery of around 90%. Oil and gas companies using the technology can quickly see the improved environmental footprint that Hyrox can deliver. And so we see this as one of the major areas in which we are looking to push forward with our technology. Next slide, please. Just to complete the picture, I'd like to mention the development areas we're working on. So we've already talked about sulfate, and excessive sulfate in wastewater is a problem found around the world, especially in industrial processes that they're using acids like sulfuric acid or are burning coal. The sulfate that comes as a byproduct of these ends up in their wastewater. their wastewater ends up in rivers and, in fact, then causes major problems. In South America, they have major problems with sulfate levels in the majority of their waterways. So we're working with both the European and in the South American areas to apply our desalax process to remove the sulfate that is found in these waters to meet regulations. And regulations will be the driver here. There is a timing, though, on the regulations, especially in South America. They've been talking about moving these regulations for over 5 years now, and it's only now that they're really becoming involved in changing up and bringing them into effect. Another one of the problems we see is phosphate, which is causing eutrophication in surface waters and lakes, but also phosphate is also becoming a limited commodity globally. And so we're working with our partner, Enva, and opportunities in both the dairy and pharmaceutical areas to remove and recover phosphate from wastewater streams. This phosphate can then be recycled as a phosphate fertiliser. The circular phosphate reuse scheme will become important as regulations in Europe ramp up and as we reach peak phosphate, as many of the reserves of natural phosphate ores are used up. Next slide. This is just a quick overview of the pneumatic joint venture, not joint venture, 100% owned subsidiary, I should say, that we have. And at the moment, we're still moving through the development area, but we've now moved into commercialisation. And over the last 3 to 4 months, we've been selling the final produced pneumatic modules into several industries. Generally, though, at the moment, they're being used in the demonstration phases. And so the sales in this time will be sporadic. But as they prove themselves up in these industries, we expect to be moving from the sporadic sales into a much more continued sale pattern, and especially over areas such as water recycling. Also in the pharmaceutical area, we're seeing also uptake of the modules in that area as well. And we can talk more about pneumatic, I think, over the next 6 months as we scaled up further. Next slide. And so in summary, I guess the things I'd like to say are we're moving the business into a model where our technology can deliver sustained value uplift and where we can share in that value uplift. We've entered the lithium world via our Go to Lithium JV in the North American market, and with successful demonstration, we'll leverage our continuous lithium extraction technology into other projects using an equity for technology business model. We propose to enter the mine tailings management market using a similar approach to the Go to Lithium JV, with the goal of becoming a leading proponent of end-to-end tailings solutions and to eliminate tailings dams. We will continue to promote and sell our suite of water technologies, concentrating on those markets where our technology is differentiated from conventional offerings and can then bring better value to our shareholders. Next slide. And I'd just like to acknowledge my fellow board members and management who are continually looking to improve our company and to help deliver sustainability to a rapidly changing world. So I'd just like to conclude there and say thank you very much.